What's up, breathing people? Welcome back. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Brittany, and we're going to be actually reviewing a book that I just recently finished. This is a book by John Delony. I get that name wrong every time I say it. I even typed it in when I was looking up just to get some notes on it. John Delany, which I think is a comedian. So
Delaney's more popular of a last name.
So Delony, it's Delony. Like baloney. He wrote a book recently called Building a Non-Anxious Life. And I just thought it would be a really good thing because it's right in the vein of what we talk about on this channel. We talk about communication, we talk about relationships, and we talk about self-development. This could kind of hit a lot of those. Mostly it's going to focus on self-development. I thought this was a really, really good perspective on anxiety, on how to live a non-anxious life. That is his book title.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you just get into the jargon. You get into the medical jargon surrounding anxiety. So you find a lot of information on how your brain works during anxiety. Maybe you'll get some practical things on how to mitigate that anxiety through certain practices, but you don't really get a perspective. Because I think perspective is more philosophical. It's not medical.
Yeah.
So when a lot of scientists are giving you information on anxiety, it's going to be very devoid of perspective.
Yeah.
So what I love about him is he has some PhDs. He has been in counseling. He's done personally and also for other people. He helps people on a regular basis. So I love that aspect because it brings in that real world kind of perspective to how you're going to define anxiety to help people get through it and to help people get over it. And so just to start, I think it's important that I kind of outline his thesis. So his thesis for anxiety first, not just on how to live a non-anxious life, but for anxiety itself, is that anxiety is not a disorder. It's not a diagnosis. It's not something that can get attached to you as an identity. He really believes this. And this is through a lot of literature. This is through a lot of study of medical journals and all of the knowledge we have when it comes to anxiety. His conclusion is that it's not any of those things. It is your body's natural, and I love this term, fire alarms, letting you know about something that's below the surface, that's deeper, that's going on in your life. And it's trying to warn you. It's trying to tell you, hey, get aware that something's happening.
Right.
And then what he does is in the kind of 6 things that he outlines for a non-anxious life, he sort of goes through what this fire alarm could be communicating to you, where there's a deficiency, where there's something going wrong, where the warning is pointing to.
Yeah.
And excuse me. So that's basically what he's outlining. Anxiety is not something that's attached to you.
Yeah.
It's something that's in you, and it's a warning sign letting you know to go do some investigation, which is right along the lines of any of the podcasts that you've ever listened to for any of our subjects that we talked about. You got to do investigation into your life. If you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to have a non-anxious life.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing just from the start too. If you don't want to do the work, you will not get the results of work.
Yeah.
And that's such a hard thing for people to grasp, but it is the only thing. It is the realest thing that you could hear from somebody. It's the most loving thing that you could hear from somebody is you have to work to get results.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to do the work, you'll get less results.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because it goes along with what I've been learning recently with just slowing down. And the slowing down has helped me to take the time to take notice to those fire alarms. I like that analogy in just being like, okay, I was feeling fine and now I'm not feeling fine. What's going on? And then if you slow down enough, you can take the time to say, okay, I'm whatever it is, what am I feeling first? Am I angry? Am I scared? Am I sad? Am I hurt? What is going on? And then why? And then that helps like ease anxiety, at least for me.
Right.
But I can see in my past how there have been times where I have been too busy, which I guess is an excuse, but too busy to address any of that. And so I'm always like, in those times, I've just been like a big high-strung ball of anxiety.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is something too, just from the jump to talk about before we really dig into some of the, he calls them daily choices that you need to go through to make sure that you're living a non-anxious life. But as a Christian, personally, I've grown up with this kind of understanding of anxiety as sin. It hasn't been spoken as sin because there's no way to kind of back that up biblically. Like there's no way to turn to the Bible and say, here's where anxiety is a sin.
Right.
It tells you not to worry.
Yeah, it tells you not to be anxious.
Yeah, be anxious for nothing.
Yeah.
It tells you not to worry. It has these
not
references.
To fear.
But these are things that it's trying to promote in your life to have a better life.
Yes.
But there is this stigma that a lot of Christians, especially in evangelical Christian circles, places on anger, anxiety, fear, that it's wrong to have these emotions. And
that's true.
Because of that stigma, it doesn't allow you to face it.
Yeah.
Because you kind of,
you're like, oh, that's bad. I shouldn't be feeling that. Let me just run away from it.
And you do everything that you can do to ignore it. You do everything that you can do to rename it.
Right.
So you're not ever actually facing the thing that you're experiencing.
Or you cover it up. I should feel this way.
Right. Or you're making up other excuses for what could be causing this.
Yeah.
I think it's this person. I think it's this job.
Yeah, it's like a blaming.
I think it's right. There's a lot of blaming because I can't actually be experiencing this because I'm a good Christian and this is sin.
Yeah.
That's not the case. These are real things that our body, God created us in this way to experience anxiety, which is for a Christian, that is such a counter narrative that as I'm digging into this, I've had to kind of press through that because it's just so new to me.
Yeah.
I've grown up in the church and I've only just started hearing this in the past few years.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying that for any Christian out there that is hearing this for the first time, take a chill pill. It's okay to talk about these things. And I love looking at it from the perspective of you are created in the image of God and God made you with these things.
Yeah.
He doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah. It's like fear.
Right.
In that sometimes like we experience fear to get away from danger.
Right.
Right? Even though we can take fear to an unhealthy level, but it's the same with anxiety. You have anxiety for a reason to address something that needs to be addressed in your life. That's how I view it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I just want to have that kind of basis, that kind of boundary that we're working within, that this is a completely healthy thing to investigate, to look at, to work through, no matter if you're a Christian or not. If you're coming from a completely secular perspective, applies to you. And if you're a Christian, this applies to you, which I would say if 5 years ago, I would be a little hesitant because I'd be like, why are we investigating our anxiety? I'm not supposed to have that in my life. If I do, I pray for it to go away.
Yeah.
What this is saying and what we'll get into, and we'll get into as many as we can today. And honestly, if we need to do another podcast to kind of go through the others, that's fine with me. But these are things that John Delony kind of through investigation of his own life and then his practice with people kind of chose these 6
Yeah.
choices that we all should go through in our daily lives to live non-anxious lives. Now,
Okay.
again, not scripture.
Mm-hmm.
God breathed, man breathed.
Yeah.
But there's some really good things in here, so we're going to explore them. The first one, and I'm just going to dive in because we've already kind of looked at anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
We already kind of went over that. So the first one that he talks about is choosing reality. The first choice that we have to make in our lives is, do we actually know the reality of our lives?
Okay.
And what he does is he'll actually, and this is a free resource on his website, he'll have this journal that'll have questions related to our family, related to our emotions, related to our workplace, related to all the areas of our life. And it's asking leading questions so that we can answer these. And when we write something down,
I love that.
we're writing it in a more real way than sometimes our mind can perceive things. Our minds are dangerous areas if we only exist there. Sometimes writing it down allows us to actually think it through, and the reality of the situation comes through, because we don't want to write a lie.
Yeah.
We can think a lie and excuse it as a lie for various reasons. But once it's written down on the page, we're like,
you have to admit it's a lie then.
yeah.
You're like, that's not true.
Yeah. So he says the choose reality, the importance of accepting reality and avoiding denial.
Okay.
That's another thing that it does, is it doesn't allow you to avoid things.
So like, can you give an example for how like somebody that's anxious, how that would help them? Like, I'm just trying to.
Right. I think, like, let's say it's a situation at work that's making you anxious. Writing out this situation, journaling about it, all your feelings related to it, talking about the people that are involved that you feel are making you anxious.
Yeah.
Having all of that laid out helps you live in the reality of the situation, not the situation that you've constructed in your mind that includes conversations that haven't actually occurred, but you maybe want to occur, or you
are afraid will occur.
Yes. There's so many things that we build up in our lives that aren't actually the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes if I reflect back on jobs that I've been in that I didn't like, if I really thought about them, and I didn't do this in the past, but wrote out the reality of that situation, it's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah.
I've made it this in my mind because I'm stewing on it.
Yeah.
Because it's marinating 24/7. I'm having dreams about it. You know, it's not that bad.
That's true. I'm thinking of times where I know journaling helps me. I'm not probably following whatever prompts he's giving, but when I journal stuff, it helps. But also sometimes I'll say like this is more recent, where I'll actually share with you what I'm nervous about. And it's helpful because sometimes when I say it, I realize it's stupid, or you'll question something like, you really think that? And you'll give your insight on that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess that's kind of silly that I think that person will think that, or I think that person will be angry about this, whatever it is. As soon as I'm like kind of fleshing it out, it becomes apparent that that's probably silly, that I'm anxious about that. Or it shows me, oh, I need to do something about this.
Right. Another thing that this says, the technique of journaling where you're at in order to gain greater reality of the situation, it helps ground you in the present. Because most of the times the situations that we've devised in our minds are either because of situations that have happened in the past or situations that we're devising and worrying about for the future.
Yeah.
So whenever you exist in the past or in the future too much, any of those extremes, it removes you from the present, and it also cripples you from doing necessary things in the present that could help you conquer your past and move forward in your future.
It keeps you stuck.
Keeps you stuck. So we want to exist in that present because that's when we actually can make proper moves in the conversations we're having with our coworkers, in the things and decisions we make in our jobs that help improve us towards a better future. So really good to just have a grasp on the reality of whatever situation it is. We're saying workplace, but this is in your marriage.
Yeah.
This is in your parenting, your relationship with your kids. This is in your actual emotional state.
Yeah, you could use it anywhere. Finances, anything that causes you anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a book that I'm reading right now, and it reminds me of this first one here. One of the things that he talks about is...
Which book?
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, I think
is that the title of it?
Stephen, is it Conroy, or is it, how do you say his name? Stephen what?
Steven. That's his first name.
What is it? Stephen.
Can you read that? I can't read that.
Stephen Covey.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. But in that book, part of what he talks about is taking responsibility for, so he talks about how there's some things that you can't change.
Yeah.
Okay. So just those you can't change. Stop worrying about those. But there's a lot that you are in control of and that you are in charge of. And if you're living in reality, in the present, you can then look at the situation and be like, okay, I have options.
Mm-hmm.
And I can choose how I want to proceed. And I know that in the past, when I've been anxiety ridden, which I have in the past, especially when I was much younger, I felt crippled and stuck all the time because I was just stuck in the fear of it and the anxiety of it. And I felt helpless. I felt like I don't have any options. And that was scary. That makes you more anxious. You're just like, I'm stuck. I can't do anything. I'm not in control.
Yeah.
But what this book was saying, and it wasn't even talking about anxiety, it was just saying, look at your situation and decide how you want to proceed.
Right.
And then think about it. Like, be creative. Be like, I'm in charge of how I act, how I think. I'm in charge of how I spend my time, my money. Like, you're in charge of so much. You have a lot more control than you think. And it just makes me think of that. Like, but you can't have that clarity of mind when you're living in the past or you're living in what might be.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, I'm in this time now and these are my options. And I know for me, like that, just as I've been thinking through that part of the book, I'm like, oh, that's very like empowering and makes you not feel anxious because you're like, okay, like I can get through this. Like bad things can happen. Bad things will happen. There's things I'm not in control of, but there's a lot I am in control of and that I'm responsible for choosing. Like I'm responsible for. I don't want to look back and say, oh, look at that happened and I let it happen.
Right.
Like I could have made a different choice or I could have said something different or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so cool. Many of the self-help books that you're going to get are going to touch on a lot of these areas that are outlined in this book. This isn't really the first time hearing a lot of the 6 choices that he outlines. I've heard them in different ways from other authors.
Yeah.
I do love his perspective though. I love the way he puts them together in this way for this problem.
Yeah.
He's very straightforward in trying to tackle anxiety. Nothing else.
Right.
We're going to get rid of anxiety.
It's just focus.
Right.
Laser focus.
So I do love that. What you're talking about can help you in so many other areas of your life as well.
Yeah.
Because it's not just going to mitigate against anxiety. There's so many other emotional factors involved in just making right decisions.
Yeah.
Choosing your next right move.
Yeah.
And I when you're talking too, the thing that came to my mind was so many of us live in false realities.
Can you explain that?
And well, it's the opposite of, it's the unknown or the things we've left unknown because we haven't investigated them and chosen to live in reality, which is knowledge of present day and time.
Yes. I think when you say investigate, I think that's the key word because you can be living in the present.
Right.
You can be living in the present, but it's still false because you're assuming
many factors
things
about that present.
You don't know. Yes.
Right.
You're assuming things in that. I like that. You're assuming things in the present that you haven't investigated.
Right.
and could be false and could be causing you anxiety unnecessarily.
And I think one of the things that's also very helpful is to realize that you've gotten through present times in the past.
Yeah.
One of the things when you feel stuck, when you feel like I don't know what move to make next, one of the great things to do is to reflect on the fact that you're here now. There was things in your past that you went through that you thought, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah.
I felt stuck then.
Yeah.
And now I feel stuck now. Well, you got through those.
Yeah.
So you will get through this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just letting yourself know that you're going to get through it allows you maybe even to get to the place where you're like, fine, I'm going to investigate all the unknowns that currently exist in my current reality so that I can live in the reality of my present day and time. I think that's such a helpful starting point. I got through it then. I will get through it now. Because I get it. It's crippling. We've said that. You feel stuck.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in lava that is cooling. I can't move.
Yeah.
It hurts to move.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But the fact that you got out of it then, you'll get out of it now, regardless of what happens. Maybe you'll make a lot of wrong choices getting out of it this time.
Yeah. But then you have to do something.
You have to do something.
Yeah.
You have to do something, and you might as well get a better picture of the current situation. And you might actually, from that, make better decisions.
And you will make better decisions next time, even if you make wrong decisions this time, because you'll learn.
Yeah.
I know one thing that I think is just worth noting is that sometimes that like investigating even in the present is really scary. I know that's been true for me in the past where I'm afraid. I'm so afraid that what I'm assuming is true that I still feel stuck. Because I will be like, I don't want to investigate this thing with this person because what if it's true?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And
that's so true though. That is so true.
Yeah.
I think we all do that.
And so I just want to put that out there because I know like I didn't know I was doing that till like I got out of those time periods where I felt so overwhelmed like that. But now looking back, I'm like, I was afraid
of the truth.
Yeah. And I didn't want to investigate it because I was afraid of the answers that I was going to get. And
but then I think another motivating factor, because I'm always looking for that thing that's going to motivate me to do the thing that I know I have to do to live a better life. And what's the, and in those types of cases, what's the opposite trajectory?
Oh, yeah.
That I'm going to live a life of untruth, that I'm going to live
fear
a
the rest
false
of my
reality,
life.
that I'm going to live in this, this other world that I've constructed that doesn't exist in the one that my friends and family and people that actually care about me exist in.
Yeah.
You don't want to live in that. That's such a lonely, unconnected life.
Yeah.
So that's the trajectory you're going on if you don't investigate truth, no matter if it hurts or not.
That's a good perspective.
And again, still scary. Still don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I'd rather just go forward in that, towards that reality, towards that truth, so that I don't end up over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to negatively motivate yourself towards positive change. So yeah, I think
good.
So it's a good first step, because that's going to ground you. That's going to place you in this present day and time and hour. And now you can say, in this present, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What is my next step? And so, are we good on that one?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So the next thing that he talks about is choosing connection. I'm present now. What's my next move? Connection.
That's a scary one too.
It depends. It depends on
where you're at in your life.
Where you're at
and
in
who's
your
around
life
you in
and,
your life. Yeah.
and what decisions you've made after reality. So reality, once you get there, many times you'll realize that I've isolated myself because I've not wanted to pursue truth, because I've not wanted to pursue reality in certain areas, whatever you've needed to explore and investigate to come to a reality of the situation. or relationship or emotion or whatever it is that you've explored, you'll probably come to realize that during that period where you felt stuck, during that period where you felt crippled, you've isolated yourself. We all do it. Every single human, when they feel, I don't know if this necessarily happens, but like there is a inferiority. There is a shame that comes from the lack of confidence to move.
Yeah.
You know, like I wish I just could just make the right decision and pursue the thing or say the thing or do the thing.
Right.
But I can't move right now. And that's shameful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just, who am I?
Right.
Like, why am I so incapable as a person?
Yeah.
Why am I so incapable as a husband or a father or a workmate or
A person?
right? So there's going to be so much shame attached to that our default is to isolate.
Yeah, it's funny. It's curious. I wonder if he figured to put that next because that is what you do, especially when you're in the depths of anxiety is, you isolate. And the best way to get you out, I guess, once living in reality is relationships. But that's probably, the next hardest step is to develop that because that's hard work in itself. And
it's really hard work.
Yeah.
It's really hard work. And none of the things that we're going to go over in this doesn't require work.
Yeah.
Stop listening now if you don't want to do any work to actually live a non-anxious life. This book will not pill you out of anxiety. It will not place a mantra in your life to get you out of anxiety. It won't give you a breath work to do to get you out of anxiety. It won't give you a cold plunge. Whatever you've been trying, and I've tried them all, except pills. I haven't taken pills. But all the natural ways I've tried to get my mind right.
Yeah.
Helps. Doesn't free you.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a time period on the aid that it provides you. All of these kind of natural things that you can do to reduce anxiety, doing breath work, doing cold plunges, doing whatever. They're great for a period of time.
Right.
This is something that you can do daily and pursue daily that will lead to a whole life that is non-anxious, a whole life, not a moment in time, but a whole life of non-anxiety. But basically building and nurturing healthy relationships, which takes work. That takes it takes intentionality.
Yeah.
So you have to make time for it in our busy lives, which is very difficult.
Yes.
But it's basically saying on a weekly basis, I'm going to get together with people that I want to pursue a relationship with, a friendship with.
Yeah.
Because I need it.
That's so good. Yeah.
And it's intentionality in the way that you communicate your need for that relationship. So to the person you're pursuing relationship with, saying to them, I need connection in my life.
Yeah.
And if you need to say, because I want a non-anxious life, and I want you to have a non-anxious life, and I want us to help each other have a non-anxious life, we need connection.
Right.
Help me in that.
Yeah.
I think most people will be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I think all of those things that you just outlined sound pretty good.
It's what people want, but most people don't. Yeah, don't take the time to be intentional.
And intentionality about when they struggle with connection, when they struggle to want to get together with you, when they struggle to talk when you get together. All of those types of things, even like, oh, they never talk about anything deep. Well, what are you doing to move the conversation towards that direction? We can't also lean on people to build healthy relationships. We can just pursue healthy relationships. And
you have to kind of be the healthy relationship.
You have to be that healthy relationship, and they will either come alongside of you and grow with you towards that health and that relationship, or you're going to have to find someone else.
Yeah.
And that's part of this deal too. That's the hard work, is that it might not be the first person that you pursue a healthy relationship with, because maybe it's an old person that you had a relationship with and they don't know how to do this new healthy connection with you.
Yeah. Or maybe they're just not ready.
Right. Right. And they're in a time where they feel stuck and crippled by anxiety. That's also not the person to pursue for a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
You don't want another person that's where you're at.
Right.
Unless they're doing work also to get out of that anxiety.
Right.
If you're just with a person that is diagnosed with anxiety and that's where they want to live, where they're like, I got this medication to kind of, drug me up and reduce the feelings of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I don't do any work above that to reduce this anxiety that I'm feeling. That's what those are for.
Yeah.
Be careful. That's not the person that you probably want to pursue in that relationship. And also find community outside of just those kind of individual friendships and individual connection that you're trying to make with someone. Also finding greater community in some capacity, whether that's church, whether that's a club, whether that's a gym group, like a class that you're a part of, whether that's, a hobby that you're into. I go to car shows and that's where I find my community at, with other people that have similar interests.
Right.
Do it.
Right.
Do it. I've been in times where I have those types of interests and I don't pursue them because I don't know if I'll find a friend there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll find any connection there. So I just don't even try.
Right. Right.
We need to try.
Yeah.
Part of choosing connection is that every week I'm going to try for connection.
Right.
Will it work every week? No, because you're dealing with other humans who might not want connection that week. You have to keep trying though.
Right.
You have to keep trying. You have to keep pursuing it. So those individual connections and then communal connections, because there's something about just being with other people too. One, the fact that you're not alone is highly impactful to your mind and to your emotions.
Yeah.
And by being alone, it literally is like I'm in proximity with another person. Like social media, the TV, being in your house alone.
Not the
There's
same thing.
zero way to make connection in that setting. Zero. You can't call your friend and be connected to them. You can't see what they're doing on Facebook. You can't FaceTime them. You can't, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They've proven that those ways do not, they're great. It's great to stay connected with someone.
Right.
But that's not actually the lasting connection that will impact your mind and emotions.
That's
It
interesting.
takes that proximity to the other person. There's something in our biology that seeing a person face to face, speaking with them and hearing the words come into your ears.
Yeah.
There's something to that biologically that affects our mind and emotions.
That's cool.
It is cool. And that's what we're designed for. And those are the things that help mitigate against anxiety.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because just like living in reality, we're anxious about the unknown. In choosing connection, we're anxious about our loneliness. We are the most lonely generation of, who knows, I can't say history.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. They didn't do a lot of polls, in the medieval times.
Yeah.
But definitely in recent times, this is the most lonely generation.
Yeah.
And we're the most connected generation. So something's wrong in the delivery system. The connection's not working in the systems that we're using to keep the connections.
Right.
We need to go old school and try and pursue these tried and tested, with actual medical journal backup of how connection actually works physiologically in our lives, face to face, with other people, in community of large groups.
Right.
Those are the ways that we can choose connection in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So I think that one's super helpful, especially after, you're living in reality.
Right.
I think that's such a good one to put there. Do you have any other ideas or thoughts on that one?
No, I mean, I think that that's true. I feel like I haven't really experienced being cut off a lot. So I know it's helpful when I'm in community more,
Right.
and when I'm actually building actual relationships with people. But usually I'm better that way anyway. So I don't usually do social media.
You were just telling me before we started recording, just the beauty of seeing other people's strengths.
Oh yeah, in action. Yeah.
Like, so when you're doing something together, which is part of connection,
Right.
doing things together, and you get to kind of celebrate the different perspectives. You get to celebrate the different ways people do things, the way they cook food differently,
Yeah.
the way that they raise their kids differently, do marriage differently, all of these different realities that another person has that can impact your life is part of connection.
And I guess I'll add this. Once you say that, it makes me think of it. Just that kind of interaction with people is helpful in a couple ways that I've noticed for myself. I'll see them either have struggles that are like mine, so then I don't feel alone, or I see them do things in a way that I wish that I could. And I'll be like, it'll be encouraging to me. I'll be like, oh, I could be doing it that way and that would be better.
Yeah.
And it's just like all of those little insights that are even not spoken, I take notice of them, makes me feel, I guess not alone.
Yeah.
And more connected with that person and excited to get to know them more.
Right.
Which you can't have over in social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is, Jordan Peterson talks about this relentlessly because I think it is core to our humanity, the story of Abraham and how Abraham was comfortable and he was at home.
Yeah.
Just kind of doing his thing, rich family. And then God calls him out of that into something that wasn't rich, that wasn't successful, that wasn't a good time.
Right.
He had to go through a lot of hardships, but it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And I think that pulls at every human's heartstring is the call to adventure, the
Right.
call to, the dragon, facing the dragon, because gold's always on the other side of the dragon, the thing that you have to defeat in your
Right.
mind and in your life and in, whatever it is, your business.
Yeah.
So I think it's such a part of relationships too. There is an adventure that we are on in every new relationship.
Yeah.
Because every single person is so different. Every single person has so many quirks and new perspectives that are going to rub us in a way that we've never been rubbed before.
Yeah.
That's a weird analogy, but
just don't visualize that.
Yeah. Now I can't. But yeah, it's gonna be different every time, and that's the fun.
Yeah.
That's the adventure that we're all called to as humans. And I think that is another aspect of connection that is so important, is that game of relationship that we get to play with somebody, that give and take, that pursuit of the uniqueness in that other person.
Yeah.
Because that really is it in relationship, right? Where you can know a person on the surface and they're kind of a lot like you.
Right.
Because you're really just talking about things that you both agree on, usually because you just want to be safe in that kind of surface connection.
Right.
And then you get to know somebody for a while and you start digging in and poking into those deeper areas where you might learn something that you don't agree on. Well, that's interesting.
Right.
Let's go a little further in that. Why do you think that? And now you're in that adventurous state where you're navigating, wow, I really don't agree with you in that way, but why don't I agree with you in that way?
You're like actively learning and growing in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate adventure is relationships. That's why marriage is so great.
Yeah.
So choose reality, choose connection. Third one is choose health. And this is really talking about physical health.
Yeah.
He gets into other areas as well later on, but physical health as a foundation for mental well-being. One of the things
that doesn't get talked enough about.
Right. And we're going to talk about it more on this channel, just in the self-development section, because I find so many people that can't be consistent in any pursuit that they're going for in their lives. And a lot of it starts with the fact that they're physically unwell, that they're physically unhealthy. And if you can't get that right, it's going to affect your discipline in other areas. There's something about, if we can discipline ourselves to just care for our bodies better, we will be able to discipline ourselves in other areas of our life. We'll be able to discipline our tongues in the way we communicate. We'll be able to discipline our minds in the way we think. We'll be able to discipline our emotions in the way we feel.
Right.
You know, or how we feel is a better way of looking at that.
And your body works better when you're physically healthy, when you're exercising, when you're eating well. Like, it's not just like, it's so true about the discipline part. I've found that as I've just the past year, I guess. What is the year? Has it been any more than that? I don't know. But where I've been consistently working out, like those wins are really nice. You're like, okay, I can do that. I did do that. I can do it again. You know, those are really helpful. But just being healthy in general helps you feel better. Like when you're eating like crap and you're not exercising at all, you just feel blah. And then it's even harder to like be motivated to do anything, because you're just like, I literally don't feel well enough to do something good for myself.
Right.
And,
we think there's a lot of people that comfort eat.
Yeah.
And I get it. Sometimes you just want that cookie. Sometimes you just want that drink. Sometimes you just want that thing that you've gone to in the past consistently.
Yeah.
That is your discipline right now. And it makes you feel good for a little bit. But physiologically, it actually is attributing to your anxiety overall.
Yeah.
We know this from science, just to focus on the science, focus on medicine and people that have studied it in this way. Like, alcohol makes you anxious. It's a depressant. Like, it helps you also lower the kind of thoughts that are raging in your mind and the emotions that are raging in your body. But overall, it will make you more anxious. You won't sleep as well if you're drinking. You won't be able to process the thoughts and emotions that are in your life that won't go away because you suppress them for a time.
Right.
So you're just heightening the anxiety in your life because of that.
Yeah.
So it's a choice. It's like, do I keep suppressing? When do you deal with it?
Yeah.
So that you can live a non-anxious life.
Right.
It's like momentary comfort, non-anxious life. Like, you have to weigh the options. Same thing with food. You know, I go to this when I am depressed. I go to this when I'm anxious. I go to this when I'm, angry at my husband or wife. Like, we have our go-tos, and it's understandable, but these things are attributing to high blood pressure. These things are attributing to diabetes. These things are attributing, and it's not just the ailments themselves. It's not just the sickness that poor eating causes.
Right.
It's the factors that go above and beyond those things. The fact that if you don't look the way you want to, it's hard to look at yourself every day.
That's true, yeah.
How much anxiety is created from the fact that you have to look at your unhealthy self every day?
Yeah.
It's not great. I hated when I was super skinny. I hated looking at that because I knew I didn't look like what I wanted to look like.
Right.
And it was awful. Like, I felt weak.
Yeah.
I felt like I had to defend my family. I would die doing it.
I'm so sorry.
I would die doing it, but would I be able to? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He could pick me up and throw me, So no, there's those factors. There's the factor that you're having to take all this medication, and that has side effects in and of itself, but also the fact that you have to do that on a daily basis because you know how unhealthy you are. It's just a physical reminder and a daily routine reminding you that you're unhealthy.
Yes. And it goes the opposite though, because I was thinking of this earlier on when I was trying to be more consistent working out. And I was like, every day that I would work out, I was like, I am choosing to care for myself. And I was like, I'm choosing to value myself. Like I am important enough to exercise. And I think that just that mental shift of being like, okay, it's like, I'm not worthless enough to like not take care of myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we would say, like, I would say that to anyone. I would be like, you're worth taking care of yourself. Like I would tell people that. I will tell people that, but I for somehow neglected to do that for myself. I was like, well, I'm too busy. Like these things are more important, which those things are important, but I'm also important.
Right.
My health is important. Not only is it for me, but I have to be healthy for my kids, for my husband. Right. And it's like, it's kind of a healthy mental shift that you're doing physically to help make that shift. If that makes sense. Like you're doing something physical to make that mental shift to say, I am worthy of being taken care of. And I'm the only one who can do it.
Right. Right.
Like you can't do it for me. You can't exercise for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's also a factor to go along with what you said, where everything else in life and in our culture and probably in your families and friends and workplace that is going to counter narrative or provide a counter narrative to that pursuit. Not intentionally.
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of people that want you to hate yourself.
Right.
I really don't. Even your worst enemy probably doesn't want you to wake up and hate yourself. But because they don't want to feel the pressure of you improving your life,
that's true.
They will, in subtle ways, put on you the fact that they're not changing their life. Put on you the fact that they don't want to work out. Put on you the fact that they love eating the junk food. Put on you all of these things that are difficult for you to pursue something different than everyone else.
Or I've seen a large support of like unhealthy living, not for the fact, just for the fact that I think it's comforting for everybody involved. They're like, like you're saying, it's just like a different way of looking at it, that it's like, okay, like that's okay that you're like that. Yeah. Because in yourself, you're like, I want it to be okay for me too.
Right.
So,
I've seen a ton of alcoholics tell people they don't drink that much.
Yeah.
You don't drink that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely drank as much as you.
Right. So it makes you feel better.
So it's not good for anybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can tell each other these things to make it okay. So then you never change.
Right.
It's not good. It's not healthy. I was telling somebody who's trying to pursue health in their own life and to care for themselves in a way that is good for them. I said, you got to get weird. You have to be weird. Just a little bit. Not too weird.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to be weird enough to say, I take care of myself.
Right.
That's weird. 70% of people in America are overweight.
Yeah.
70%.
It's a big number.
70%. It's crazy. The statistics out there are actually depressing, and I don't want to repeat them. But just knowing the fact that so many people are unhealthy, you're going to be weird. Yeah. If you pursue health in your own life.
You will be, I guess, yeah. Just because
you got to get comfortable with that. Like when I was pursuing my own fitness journey, no one wanted to go with me. I didn't really have this swath of people encouraging me on a daily basis or a monthly basis or a yearly basis.
They just call you crazy.
They're just like, oh, I would have a lot of people angry at the fact that I was doing that. Like in a joking way, be like, oh, I hate it when you post your, completed workouts. And I'm like, that's just for me, man.
Right.
Like, that's just keeping me accountable. Like, look, I did it. I did it again.
Yeah.
I did it again.
Right.
Because it's not something that's like, yay, I accomplished this big thing. It's just a daily grind, but I need that accountability for myself to post it on social media and my stories saying, I did it again. I did it again.
Right.
because I know the consistency will produce the results that I desire. And it's weird because I don't see that in my friends' stories. I don't see their lives or their physiques changing at all.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And I've tried to kind of put some feelers out there to get people on board. And
Yeah.
I was like, I will buy a gym membership to go work out with you.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. I'm busy. I got a family. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. But I want better for your life.
Yeah.
I want the best for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what this has done in my life being healthy. I want that for you.
Right.
And not a lot of people are going to go with you
Mm-hmm.
or any.
Yeah.
And that's tough. And you're going to be labeled weird
Yeah.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
You can be normal in other areas, but in that area, you're going to be a little weird.
Yeah.
So, but choosing health is really important. Because it is that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the foundation not just for how you exist in this life, but also for the other areas of your life, how you think,
Yeah.
how you feel.
So how is he tying? I feel like I know the answer, but I don't know if we actually said it. How is he tying the choosing health into helping you not be anxious?
So a lot of it has to go with how it's affecting your mind.
Okay.
So there's a lot of science to it. He tries to reference, but not kind of harp on a lot of the science and
Because
physiology.
that'll get overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much out there. Go listen to an Andrew Huberman. Go listen to a Peter Attia. He talks about all of these guys, and he said, I listen to all of them. I'm not going to communicate in that way. He's going to communicate more in a philosophical way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's more helpful for
Yeah.
people. I don't really need to know about the dopamine receptors going off when I work out.
You'll lose me.
Like that doesn't affect
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Like someone's saying like, you'll be able to think differently after working out. Like there actually is a mental shift that takes place. Like if you lift heavy weights,
Mm-hmm.
there is a mental shift where your day will look differently afterwards.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
You know, and that's the case with any kind of cardiovascular type working out. We can get into more specifics on fitness and all of that. I want to do that in the future because I think there's just so much misinformation out there, and truly misinformation.
Mhm.
Like I really do think, unfortunately, there's a lot of charlatans in the fitness community. I would love to just be a person that's like, I'm not that fit,
Mm-hmm.
but I do this on a consistent basis. Here's what I do.
Right.
And just offer that to the world because there's all these guys that look incredible. And then, you know, it comes out later they're on steroids, or it comes out later that they're on TRT, which is fine if you're above a certain age, but also it's still cheating.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you have these guys that are like, I just do this to look like that. And you're like, no, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more to
No,
it.
you don't. And there are some good ones out there too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just crapping all over the fitness community. There are some really good guys that provide really helpful information, and they have huge audiences already. So I don't really need to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
say anything positive or negative about them. People go where good information is. I'm just saying you also have to be careful of the charlatans
Yeah.
and the people that are just trying to get a buck from you,
Mm-hmm.
selling things that are not real.
Right.
You know, what I found in my personal fitness is consistency is key. That's in everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Chris Williamson say on his podcast one time, and it was good. He was like, I'm not going to say the quote perfectly, but basically he was like, consistency doesn't guarantee success, but not being consistent will guarantee that success will never come.
Yeah.
And that's in every area of your life, your physical health, your dietary health,
Mm-hmm.
your mental health, your emotional health, all of it.
Right.
If you're not consistently working towards a more healthy existence in any of those areas,
You're not going to get there at all.
you're not going to be successfully
Yeah.
healthy. It just won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's good. What are the things? Yeah, he talks a lot about improving your diet. He doesn't really get into a lot of the kind of macros or micros of diet.
Right.
You know, he doesn't lay out one as the kind of end all be all diet or anything like that. He really gets into, you know, you need to be aware of the calories that you're putting in.
Mm-hmm.
You need to eat less processed food, which is just across the board. It doesn't matter what diet you're pursuing. The less processed food you can eat in that diet will improve your health.
Right.
And then he talks about sleep.
I love sleep.
I know.
Talk about sleep.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to talk about it. But yeah, sleep is a huge one. Well, let's touch on diet first.
Okay.
And just focus on that.
I'm so excited now about the sleep. Okay.
I'm gonna tease it. We'll come back to that. No, but diet is super important because it can also be a mind killer or a mind booster.
I can see how that'd be true.
And we kind of all know this. We know that a lot of the processed carb heavy foods, especially in America, unfortunately, slow our minds. You eat a big old bowl of pasta.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, gluten-free, because I have to be gluten-free, or not. You feel tired. You feel mentally sluggish. There's real things happening there. And anytime that you slow your brain, you're slowing your ability to make better choices. You're slowing your ability to make better decisions about the feelings that you're currently experiencing. So if you have a slowed brain and then you get in a fight with your wife, it's going to affect and cloud that situation. It's going to cloud your judgment in that situation.
Yeah.
And so even just in that way, the food you eat is bigger than just what you're putting in your body. It's how it is affecting your brain. It's how it's affecting your ability to deal with your emotions. Think about that. Before you just put that Big Mac in your mouth, think about the repercussions. It's not just your long-term health that's on the line. It's your short-term present health that's on the line from that decision. So one of the things that I heard, and I think diet is very dependent on, one, your personal physiology. Like, some people exist very well on a vegan diet.
Yeah.
Some people don't.
Yes.
Some people exist very well on a more carnivore-based diet, which can include things like eggs. And a lot of people are introducing fruit in their carnivore diet because there's some carbs in there from the sugars. There's, you know, kind of some natural things that help on certain levels in your health. And so a lot of people exist on both ranges in a very healthy way. You have to decide. You can't just, I really liked what this person said, so I'm going to implement that in your own life. You really have to do a lot of elimination and introduction when choosing which diet works best for you.
I think the hard part when it comes to that is sometimes it takes a while to figure out what to eliminate for you to actually feel good. Like, I know when I eliminated gluten, not because I was really trying, just we were eating gluten-free because of you.
Yeah.
I found that I felt a lot better. And like, I didn't realize I could feel that good. Like, I didn't realize that I could feel like not bloated all the time and not like tired all the time and not like that brain fog all the time. So I'm just throwing that out there to say it does, it kind of takes a lot of like trial and error. Because then from there, I was able to notice, oh, when I eat this, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so stop eating that. And then like, I could be like, oh, I feel good when I eat this and when I eat this way. But so, yeah, it's just, it takes so much time because you don't know what your body's going to like work well with. And I have friends who eat differently and they feel good and I wouldn't want to eat that way.
Right.
So it's what works for you.
Right. It really is something that you need to listen to your body in. And you only can do that and actually know what your body is saying through elimination and introduction.
Yeah.
Elimination and introduction. It's a game.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a game, especially with the hand that all of us have been dealt. If you're a millennial or younger, you have grown up with mostly processed food.
Yeah.
From the time that you're a baby and eating baby food that was processed to now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lunchables in high school to now. And these are highly processed, chemically infused, pesticide, drenched foods that have affected our immune systems, that have affected our guts, that have affected so many areas of our life. And it's going to take a lot of discovery to find what works for you. But overall, the more processed foods that you can eliminate out of your diet, you'll feel better.
That's going to be a positive for anybody.
That's going to be a positive for anybody.
Yeah.
So, and by processed, I mean, if it has a label on it, it's probably processed. And I understand, especially in today's economy, this is 2024, it's hard to buy unprocessed things. Unprocessed vegetables, unprocessed rice.
Rice and meat. Well, rice isn't processed, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely goes through a process. I mean, even just to make it into white rice.
Well, okay, that's true. That's true.
So, I mean, what I'm saying is...
I was saying rice as a positive thing.
Right.
Because it's like one grain, but...
But some people can't have rice.
That's true.
Some people, it's still too carb heavy,
mm-hmm.
and they need to eliminate that. Like if your goal, and that's the other thing too, it's also a game, and learn to have fun with this. This is what I've done a lot with my own personal dieting. Like when I was trying to bulk, I ate a certain way, and I tried to stay healthy even in that bulk. But you are introducing a lot of foods that you're just hoping will be calorie dense and
mm-hmm.
will help you gain weight.
Yeah.
And then when I wanted to reduce that, it's just a game of changing that up, changing the type of smoothies you're drinking, how many you're eliminating from drinking that day,
mm-hmm.
or, there's all of this kind of play and, okay, I'm not going to go back for seconds on this meal, or I'm going to eliminate, like if fat loss is your goal, you have to eliminate things like potatoes, rice, a lot of these
sugar,
heavy carb, sugar based, and that's all that carbs are, is just, it breaks down into sugar
mm-hmm.
eventually, and your body is overloaded with that already from all of these other things that you're introducing in your diet. So getting rid of those things, if you just ate, unprocessed vegetables, like fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, meats, you will lose weight.
Yeah. There's even a way to eat those things. Oh, I wish I could remember. Remember when Caitlin told us there's like a certain order that you should eat your meal in? Oh, what was that order?
I don't know.
There's an order. There's an order, guys.
I don't know. But like I said, I'm listing all of those. You could eat all of them, or you can eat some of them, or you can eat,
right.
It doesn't really matter what you eat, as long as it makes you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And by feeling good, it doesn't mean comfort.
Yeah, like not in the moment feel good. Like
Right. An Oreo makes me feel really good.
Yeah.
But I don't feel good after.
Yeah.
I feel good during. There's so many analogies to that. But the thing to remember is that your goal is to feel better. One, long term, you are thinking about your long-term health. Do I want to be here for my husband and wife? Do I want to be here for my children? Do I want to feel good when I'm older?
Yes.
Do I want to think better when I'm older?
Right.
Like we have the tools. Like I forget the percentage. I was just listening to something recently of Alzheimer's and dementia.
Oh, it's
like
bad.
The numbers are going up exponentially every year. And we're looking for that drug, but the problem is that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We already know the answers to reducing cases of dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's eating.
Stress and anxiety is one of the contributing factors.
Right. But the primary
well.
contributing factor is diabetes.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Type 2 diabetes is the most contributing factor to your proclivity to heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer.
I do remember you saying that now.
Diabetes is basically that like all the kind of horsemen of the apocalypse for health, that's the primary one that makes you
Interesting.
susceptible to basically all the others.
Okay, so diet's really important.
Diet's really important, especially if it's type 2 diabetes and you can eliminate it.
Yes.
If you have type 2 diabetes, you can eliminate that.
People don't know that. No one tells people that.
Right. You get on insulin. And going back to that kind of that perception of yourself, like every time you have to check your insulin, that's depressing.
Yeah, that would be depressing.
And that's going to play a factor in how you think about yourself and how you feel about yourself. Like eliminating that from your life not only just changes how healthy you are, like just physically,
Right.
but also how you feel and think about yourself. Because not having to do that on a daily basis, a daily reminder that you're unhealthy,
Yeah.
is so helpful.
Right.
It's so helpful and liberating
Mm-hmm.
that I think it would actually propel you to more health.
Right.
That's most cases. Like when people really go down that health train, I love watching people on YouTube that are overweight, that go on these amazing health journeys, or are skinny and go on an amazing fitness journey. It's so cool to follow that because you can see in their demeanor, in their confidence, in the way that they hold themselves, there's a transformation.
Yeah.
It's not just the physical. It's not
They took control of their lives.
Right.
They took charge.
Yes. And that's really what you're doing when you're choosing reality, when you're choosing connection, and when you're choosing health.
Yeah.
You're taking control of your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a powerful thing to know that one, it's possible. Break things down. This is from Atomic Habits. It's funny. This guy has read all the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like all the books that I've read that I've gained a lot of insights from, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Atomic Habits, Outlived by Peter Attia, Huberman. I haven't read his book, but listening to him, he's in all of these same spaces that a lot of people are in, and he's just kind of putting it together in a more easy to digest format.
Under specifically anxiety. Yeah.
Right. And I should say this, if you have a premium Spotify subscription, his book is on there. His audiobook is on there. If you have Audible, you can get it that way. But I found this on Spotify for free. So that was cool. How about we save the last 3?
Okay.
Let's save the last 3 for another podcast, because I think that's a good place. We'll finish up choosing health, and then we'll kind of end it there. So let's just focus on sleep to end this.
Okay. I thought you were going to make me wait.
No, I'm not going to do that. No, we'll wrap up health today.
Okay.
And then we'll do the next 3 in the next podcast. But sleep is so important. One of the things that I definitely have seen in my own life is getting proper sleep and actually being aware of when I'm stopping caffeine during the day. If you have to drink caffeine, when I am actually going to bed and setting intention of when I'm going to bed, making sure I'm not looking at my screen and reading a book.
Reading a good book being a good thing.
Right.
Not looking at your screen, reading a book.
Yes. Different things like that. There are so many other hacks and tips out there for how to improve your sleep. That's a game changer. If you get good sleep, you'll have better day.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just turned into a caveman, but like that's the formula.
Yeah.
Out of all of these things, sleep is king.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
To be consistent with that.
It really is. And that's why I said intention.
Yeah.
Because you really do have to be intentionally, just like you would intentionally eat certain foods if you're on a diet, and intentionally go to the gym if you want to work out, or intentionally all of these other things. Sleep is one of those that we just we know it's coming. We know it's going to happen. It happens every night.
Right.
And we leave it at that.
Yeah.
We're not like, I want to have good sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I want to have better sleep tomorrow. I want to, improve my sleep?
Yes.
It's one that usually we kind of leave on the back burner because it happens, and we just kind of leave it at that. Like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. Like that was like that was just a thing that happened on its own. It's like, well, you were looking at your phone till midnight.
Right.
Well, you were, eating right before bed. Oh, you were drinking that Dr. Pepper like at 8 p.m.
Yes.
There's so many things that we're just not looking at that are affecting our sleep that night.
Right. And then it always affects your day the next day. That's what kills me is like, if I want to get up at the time I want to get up so that I can care for myself to work out and have some quiet time in the morning, I need to get up at that time. So if I go to bed late or whatever, if my sleep isn't good, I don't want to get up at that time. And it feels like it ruins my whole day.
Right. And it compounds.
Yeah.
You're like, your poor sleep compounds as the week progresses.
Yeah.
So yes, you have all of those factors too. But even if you're like a super disciplined person that no matter what sleep I get, I'm going to get up and do these things in the morning. Good for you. Probably not going to have a quality workout. Probably not going to have quality relationships that day. Probably not going to have quality metabolic health, because it's going to affect your immune system. It's going to affect your metabolism.
Yeah.
Like there's so many other factors that are going to get affected because you didn't have good sleep that day. And then you're going to be, wondering why you're not seeing the changes physically that you want to see through diet and physical exercise. And, you're not having the relational success that you would like to in your different relationships. It's because of sleep.
Yeah.
It's that compounding effect because of poor sleep.
Yeah, it's hard. I find it's hard to regulate my emotions when I'm really tired and make, good choices because I'm not regulating my emotions well. Yeah. And so everything seems harder. That's why I love sleep so much.
I really like what you said when it came to working out, though, that I care for myself and I am worthy of taking care of myself.
Yeah.
Because I think it goes right into your sleep too.
Yeah.
I mean, your diet as well. But I think sleep is a big thing that we can just kind of push off. That we can, because I do it myself. Mm-hmm. There are times where I'm just like, I'm tired. I want to watch TV.
Yeah.
It's a screen. It's
like that temporary, it's fun temporarily. And then afterwards you're like, that was so stupid.
Right. But it doesn't put me in a restful state.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But a good book. And I heard this, it's much better with a nonfiction book. Or no, I'm sorry, a fiction book.
It's a bad idea for me. I won't go to sleep.
Well, there's that factor.
No, you
have to have some self-discipline to put the book down when it's bedtime. That's why you need to be intentional about setting a bedtime. But reading a fiction book, it puts your mind in a more relaxed state.
Yeah.
And there's something about just reading off of page too is better. If you have a Kindle, that's great. I like just a physical book in my hand. I think that's just more nostalgia.
Yeah.
But reading a fiction book is a great way to kind of come down from the day, to come down from your times on screens, to come down from whatever is gone. And just, this is when I get ready for bed.
Yeah.
So do that. Like they say, a good hour before you go to bed is best.
Yeah.
And if it's a good book, an hour is great. That can get you through a chapter, possibly. So yeah, sleep is really important. There's plenty of tips out there on how to pursue better sleep. Take these one at a time too. You were just saying with the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People book, he wants you to read it one section at a time and actually try and implement that in your life. So if you want to do that with the three that we went over today, choosing reality, choosing connection, and choosing health, take it one at a time. Know your life. Know the reality of what's actually happening in your life. I think there's a download for free. You don't have to have bought the book first at, I think it's johndelony.com/resources, I believe is the URL. If you go there, he has a journaling template that you can just print out whenever you need to journal about
cool.
your life. We need to journal about the realities in your life. So it has the leading questions there. You just answer those questions in each section.
Right.
And then you have a better grasp on the reality of your life.
Right.
Start there. Start there. When you're done that, move to pursuing greater connection with another person or in community, and then choose health. This one, start now.
Yeah.
Start now. Because that's going to be that one. It's like quitting smoking. It's a really difficult thing to go cold turkey on.
Right.
You have to do it a couple times because there's just that habit that will just draw you back. And it's the same way with either having less sugar or eating unprocessed food, which has sugar, and being consistent in pursuing physical health and diet and improved sleep. It's something that you're going to have to work on for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So start now with those, but I would start with trying to choose reality in your life as that major one to live a non-anxious life.
Right.
So
that's a daily thing too, though. The choosing reality. That's not like a once and done.
Right. All of these are.
Yeah.
All of these are. And that might sound daunting to you, but it's one of those things that it will be daunting at first.
Yeah.
But then when it's just a part of your life, is not that bad.
Yeah. Can I just share a little bit on that to encourage people? I can think of times in my life, like I said before, where I've been just anxious, all the time, and in that tight, awful not feeling. But then once you do that work and you slowly start to get out of it, it's you notice right away. You're like, oh, I know that feeling, and you're able to kind of choose reality in that moment. Or for me, I always say it takes me a long time to process things. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, I know I see that situation is causing me stress right now. And I will, in that moment, because I've got kids and they're all yelling things and fighting, in that moment, I'll be like, tonight, I'm going to think about this. I'm going to journal about this. Or I'll be like, tomorrow morning at this time, I'm going to sit down and journal out why I'm so stressed about this. Because some people know, I feel like you're really insightful and know what's going on. Maybe that's not true for you, but for me, it takes me time. So if I can just know, okay, at this point, I'm going to process this, then I can at least have some ease to that anxiety at that moment, being like, okay, I don't know why I feel super upset about that right now, but I'm going to put it aside and I'll deal with it then. But I say that as an encouragement because I think a lot of times you're so overwhelmed that you feel like you don't even know what does normal feel like. But once you take the time to just one step at a time, you eventually get out of it, and then you'll see it right away when it comes back up. But then you just have to deal with it again so it doesn't compound again, because that's what will happen. So
yeah. All right. Well, join us next time for part 2 of just reviewing John Delony's book, Building a Non-Anxious Life. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I love these next 3. I think the next 3 are probably the most helpful in the long run of having a non-anxious life. These kind of first 3 are those building blocks or foundations for that. And then these next 3 actually set you free. Because that's the ultimate goal. The opposite of anxiety is freedom.
Yeah.
So that's really what you're trying to pursue in all of this, is freedom in your health, freedom in your connections, freedom in living in reality. Because then you can actually navigate it correctly because you're aware of what's actually happening. So join us next time for that. We love you all. We'll see you on the next podcast. Goodbye.